Well, welcome YouTube. So I am actually did not plan to be live today. I've been doing some research and wanted to dig in deep on some questions that I had, and I've told everybody just a little bit of history. Got to turn making sure my audio is working. By the way, hi Wayne. That's great that you're here. And from just a slightly bit away from me, I'm in Washington State in the United States, and I think it's pretty cool that we can connect with people literally around the world. I have been writing a little article, just kind of give you guys an introduction, and then I'll put our graphic up and kind of tell you where we're going. You can actually see I have a graphic on the screen because we're going to be talking about motion graphics using the Hyperdeck and the Upstream Key. And I just thought it would be appropriate to just have it rolling. You always wait on all of these YouTube channels, right? You wait to see it at the very end. And I don't necessarily like those movies that show you the ending before you even get into the movie, but I understand the concept because sometimes we just wait and it gets late and we lose our attention span and we never get to see the outcome. So you actually can see my logo, podcast logo I made about a year ago that I'm doing some podcasting, but this was a logo designed specifically to be a motion graphic and an outro, intro, and a lower thirds if I wanted it. And when I first got the ATEM Mini Pro, I was using the Cam Link, and I've grabbed that many times here. I did know right away that I needed to use one of my DSLRs, and I had the 5D Mark III and the 5D Mark IV by Canon. And I've said long time ago, if you're not a Canon user, that's cool. I'm not just Canon specific. I had a Panasonic HMC 150 when I first started doing video production, and I had a proper, as many would say, a proper video camera. And then obviously over time, pre-Canon 5D Mark III, all of a sudden video came to DSLRs, and I had a friend that he was shooting with a Canon 5D Mark II when the video came to DSLRs, and I started realizing that with my Panasonic, I couldn't get cool depth of field, and I wanted that cinema, look at that particular time. I was running a recording studio. The idea was to do some music videos, and obviously with music videos, there was going to be moments where I wanted to totally focus in on the artist or whatever we were focusing on, from the guitar to the drummer, and not have everything in the background showing. And so as I did my research, I realized that DSLRs gave me the opportunity to study photography, which has always been something I had a passion for. I was already doing videography. And so eventually I decided to sell my HMC 150, a video camera that shot 720p. I sold it, sold a bunch of other gear, and bought a Canon 5D Mark III. And that 5D Mark III I was just using to shoot video so I could fill up that chip. I wasn't doing a lot of live events, so I didn't really even dawn on me that it had a shutdown issue, and I still have that camera. It is right here, just off camera. I call it my Skycam. So anyway, long story short, I've gravitated all the way now to an EOS R. I've given up the Cam Link for the ATEM Mini Pro. I was looking at the ATEM Mini, and while I was studying it and researching, trying to make my decision what I wanted to do for live streaming, for live video events, for mixing and all that stuff, or switching, I decided on the ATEM Mini, and about the time that I decided getting ready to pull the trigger, out comes the ATEM Mini Pro. And so I ended up with the Pro. I like the features, and I have videos where I talk about some of the differences here. And now I want to officially announce that I have ordered the ATEM Mini Extreme, but I plan to camp for quite a while right here, talking about how to use the ATEM Mini, the ATEM Mini Pro, and the ATEM Mini ISO. If you don't have those and you're using a different switcher like a YOLO box and some of those other tools, today's video is going to really focus in on combining the ATEM Mini with the ATM or the Hyperdeck Mini, and obviously using the downstream key, and that's what we're going to focus on. So you can see the graphic on here. I actually have it rolling. It is just a short graphic, and I've gone into the settings, which I'm going to show you here. And I actually can then have that roll. And I shared in my last video that I have the ability to turn off the channel 3 and add a different input, and I'm going to do that here in just a minute. And I'm going to bring in my desktop computer so I can show you some of these things that I'm doing. So again, thank you for joining me. If you are watching this video after it went live, I hope that you'll subscribe and like the channel, and I hope that you'll continue to come back as we do these live streams to talk about how to better understand how to extend the use of your ATEM Mini products. And if you decide to go to Extreme, everything that we're going to talk about today still applies. You'll just get more of the things we're talking about today. The ATEM Extreme still does not play video. It has the ability to do super source, and I even did a video here that you can watch that talks about the differences in the Extreme and the other products. And once I get mine, I will be doing a separate series of videos with it. And I'm not sure I'll even do any videos like this on it. There's so many people out there. I really want to focus in on how to get the most out of these products, and focus in on the Hyperdeck, which I don't see a lot on YouTube. So let's dive right in. I'm going to stop this graphic, and I'm going to do some of these things live so you can just see how this happens. So I'm going to go into my media player in the ATEM Mini control software. Obviously I'm using the Pro, and I'm under the Hyperdeck, which is another product that you have hooked up to your ATEM Mini. I have channel 3 and 4, because out of the ATEM, at the back of the ATEM Mini, the Hyperdeck has 2 outputs for what we're doing with graphics and also playing videos. Then it has the HDMI out, so you can reference what's coming out. You could actually put the HDMI out of the Hyperdeck into an input and just play videos that way. But if you want to do the graphics and the motion graphics, then you'll need to hook up the 2 SDI outputs into the HDMI inputs of the ATEM Mini or Mini Pro or ISA or the Extremes in order to get the graphics to work. And you'll have to, because it's HDMI inputs, you're going to have to convert the SDI 2 outputs of the back of the Hyperdeck, and they're actually SDI 6G. So you're going to have to convert those to HDMI and then go into your Hyperdeck. And I just use channel 3 and 4 because I only have 4 channels, and I want to use channel 1 and channel 2 consistently to be able to have 2 camera angles. And so I'm on my second camera angle because it's easier for me to run my laptop and all of that. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to be at this camera angle. So I hope you enjoy this change up from my other streams. So again, I'm using the ATEM Mini Pro. I have the Hyperdeck Mini, and it is designed to do a couple specific things, right? Number one, it plays video footage, and you can do lots of things with it. You can actually record into it up to 6K, 30 frames per second. Not 6K, sorry, 4K, apologize, 30 frames per second. And it has an input for that. It's a 6G SDI 6G input. And so you could actually take like any camera that has clean HDMI and clean 6K or 4K out, you can record directly to the Hyperdeck, and you can do that in a number of codecs. And so you can get the full dynamic range that you can get out of those cameras. And I have a video here where I recorded 4K out of my EOS R, and I recorded that at 30 frames per second, ProRes, right into my Hyperdeck. And so I also shared how your Hyperdeck can have a camera input and record that camera, and then you could also hit play, and then it'll bring up the videos that you have on the SD cards. So right now I have 2 SD cards in my Hyperdeck, which is one of the things that's really cool about it, because once one fills up when you're recording, it automatically switches over to the other SD card, and then you can pull one out. I mean, I'm actually playing that lower third graphic in the first card, and I just pulled out the second card, and I can plug that back in. Now, I'm not going to input it, because once I push it all the way in, it will read it, and it would stop playing that graphic, which we're going to stop now in my computer. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off that lower thirds. So now it's off, and that was turning that off in my downstream key. And we're going to talk just a little bit about the difference between the upstream key and the downstream key here in just a moment. So now I'm going to stop that graphic from playing. I'll switch my switch, and you can see those little 2-to-1 switchers that I bought for like $11 on Amazon US. And so I have my laptop going into one side. I have my Hyperdeck channel, my Hyperdeck main output going to it. And then out of that little switch goes to my HDMI input number 3. So now my HDMI input number 3 has the ability to show my screen. So now I can actually bring my screen up. So I'm going to do right now. Turn this graphic off. And so now you have my screen. So right up here, you see on the palettes, then you see the media player and then the output, and that's where you go live from in the output screen. And we're going to focus on these two screens, the media player screen and the palette screen. And let's bring picture in picture up here. See if I'm set up here. Yeah, that'll work. Am I high enough? Yeah. So over here, you have the ability in the media player to loop it. So when I'm running that graphic, I'm going to hit play right here, and I'm going to loop it right here. And so these are the 3 graphics I have in there. I'm playing this lower motions graphic right here. And I do that by hitting play, and then I'm able to loop it, and it just continues to loop. I had someone reach out to me today on YouTube. This is where this idea came from. It's been on my list to kind of dive in and figure this all out. And so I've just really figured these things out to another level the last couple days, and I wanted to share them right away with you. So what I want to do today is take you through the steps to take from After Effects a graphic that you design. We're not going to design a graphic today, but I'm going to show you the process of how to get that graphic, prepare it to go to the media, to the media pool in the Blackmagic ATEM Mini software. So let me do this. Let me just make kind of the announcement here of where we're going today. Switch cameras back here. Go into my and turn this graphic on. So this is it. We're going to take the Hyperdeck Mini. Let me go to program view here so I can see it. We're going to go motion graphics into the ATEM Mini Downstream Key. And so I wanted to put that up on the screen. So that's where we're headed. And so we're going to do that now. Let me take you back to my screen here. Turn picture in picture on just again so you can see me. And let's kind of dive into this. So what I've done is I've loaded into my media pool the main graphic, and you can see that right here. And if I was to drag that down here, now it's in my media player. The challenge with the media player is it plays graphics. And then if you have a PNG file, which is a clear graphic that you can make in Photoshop, you can make it in Adobe Illustrator, lots of different programs, you can make a PNG file. And if I drop that lower thirds in, you can see it here right now, and that's what you can play from the media player. So I have one media player, you can see how many slots I have, and I can drop graphics into every one of those slots, so I can have a graphic that takes over the complete screen. Or I can have a graphic that just goes over the lower thirds. But when it comes to playing motion graphics, then how do I do that? Well, I have to make a decision of how I'm going to display that on the screen. So once I have a Hyperdeck and I have it hooked up appropriately, right? I have both of those channels coming out into channel 3 and 4, and then I have those channels dedicated to my Hyperdeck. Then I can take a graphic, a motion graphic or a video, and I can play it in a live event like this, or just play it in a recorded video. So what I did, I'll show you here, is bring this up. I have this graphic designed in After Effects here. And as I scroll through this graphic, you can see it. It starts out off screen, and I didn't want that today. So the way you would do that after you designed your graphics in After Effects, you're going to go all the way to where you would want it to start for the screen. And I could have started here because there's some kind of cool effects. I could have even started here, but that would be doing this every time it looped. And so all I wanted in the loop is after my name drops in here. So from right here to the very end, so I just pull this over, and I pull this over, and then now I'm going to send that part of the graphic to an SD card with an alpha channel so that I can play it in the downstream key and play it live in an event just like this. So step 1 would be design the graphic in After Effects. Step number 2 is going to be then pick what you would want to for a motion graphic, what part of it you would want. So I always tell people, design the graphic that you want, right? So if you're going to do it as a beginning of a podcast or ending of a live stream, however you're going to do it, go ahead and build the whole thing, right, with everything moving and flying in it, but make sure that in the meat of that graphic, you have another graphic that you can use as a really quick 2-second or 3-second bug, or a long-term graphic that would just loop, because you have that ability to loop right in the ATEM Mini control, the Hyperdeck Mini, and you can control it from the control software. And we'll talk about that settings here in a minute. So here's the graphic. Now what do? You would go up to File, and you're going to go to Export. And then I like to go into Adobe Media Encoder. You can also go into the render queue, but it's just a lot more intuitive for me to go into the Adobe Media Encoder. So I'm going to hit that. And it's going to take a second here, and you're going to watch it open up here right on the screen. See who else is on here. It looks like, hey, Freddie, it's good to have you, man. So great to have you guys here. So in a minute, it's going to populate, and you may already know how to do this. I just want to make sure this video includes this. And then here's the graphic. And so up here, you can see that I have chosen Alpha ProRes 444 with alpha. Now, you don't have to have 444. You just have to choose an option that has an alpha channel. And so as you scroll down through these options, you can see that you got to have an alpha channel, because the alpha channel is the part that gives you the ability to have these transparent graphics display on your screen. And in reality, the alpha channel in that graphic, or if you even render, the cool thing is you can go into Photoshop and you can render with an alpha channel of a design in Photoshop, which would be a still image, right? Any kind of still image. And if you wanted it to be a lower thirds and you wanted it transparent with grayscale and all of the cool shadows and all that stuff, then you're going to be able to render it out of Photoshop now directly to the media pool. You can even pick which slot in the media pool you want it to go into, but that's still graphics. Motion graphics, you're going to have to design it and then be able to export it with an alpha channel. And so I just chose this, and I stay here. So you have Apple ProRes, Alpha ALG, you have all of these. So I just chose 444, and then I would choose where I'm going to send it. And I don't have my disk in there because I'm going to leave it in here. But what I would do is I would choose, I'll pull out my second disk here, just so you can see this whole process. Pop it in here. and I'm actually using a OC White Thunderbolt dock. So it's great. So I have lots of inputs, including a micro SD card as well as a SSD card. And so then what happens is the EOS digital pops up here, and then all I would do is render it to here. And all of these files that are on that disk have to be the same format. So they all have to be 1080p. They all have to be at the same codec. So if they're not all ProRes with an alpha channel 444, then my Hyperdeck will not read it. So if you have trouble with this, if you have a Hyperdeck, it's because you got to make sure all the frame rates and everything the same. I don't know if that'll ever change. I'm sure it was because of the other switches needed specific abilities to have the same thing coming from the Hyperdeck, so there wasn't any problems with the live event, so it forces you to render it correctly or it won't read it at all. And now we have the ATEM minis, and they're able to adjust everything coming in the inputs, which is great. So you could plug a phone into an HDMI input, you could plug a camera at a different frame rate, and it's going to bring everything down to the frame rate that your program out is set in your control software. So let's just say we save this. It takes a little while to render. And then what happens is that you hit this play icon up here after you picked where you're going to be at, and that will render whatever is in the media pool ready to render. And it's going to render it Apple ProRes 444 with an alpha channel. That's exactly what I did. This is the graphic. The only part we're going to skip, so you don't have to watch this thing render, is we're going to go right to the other card. And so it's in my computer now. So let's just say it was done. I would close this. I would save my file just to make sure. And then I would close this software. And now I'm back to my media pool. So I don't need to be in here now. I'm going to roll out with this graphic. So I'm going to drop out the lower thirds for right now. And then I'm going to just making sure that you guys can still see me here. And so I still have the upstream key on. And so I'm going to turn the upstream key off here in a minute. And we're going to focus on the downstream key. But before we do that, I want to illustrate to you what we're going to do down here. So in the palettes, you have the upstream key right here. And the upstream key, so you understand the differences, and maybe you already know, but if you're listening, you don't. The upstream key kind of moves with all of your transitions. So if I have it on and then I go to my auto transition, this upstream key moves with that. And there's a reason for that. And we're not going to cover all of those things today, but I'll link a couple really good videos that other guys did that I've watched here in the notes tonight. So come back and check that out. They're not on there now. So we're not going to use the upstream key. We're going to use the downstream key, because the downstream key is on top of all the other layers. And it really is designed to live on top of the other layers. So my camera 1, my camera 2, my Hyperdeck, but you got to be careful if you are using your Hyperdeck channel 3 and 4 as a motion graphic, then now you have to realize that you're going to be running it through your downstream key. And so it's going to be on that top layer. So there's nothing left to lay over top of it because we only have this one downstream key. And again, the idea of the downstream key is it could be the last layer, and most people use the downstream key to put that lower thirds that's going to stay on for the whole show, and you want to switch all the cameras and that thing stays there all the time. So once I get my motion graphic on my channel and on my stream, it's going to live right on the program view like the start of this video, and it wouldn't matter what I did as long as I don't shut down those two channels like I did to show you my screen. It's going to stay on there for the whole show, right? And that's what you would normally do. And then obviously if you're doing training videos like this, you're going to have the ability to turn things on and off like I am in the studio, because sometimes I need to show the multi-view, sometimes I need to show the program view, and because of that, that's why I'm doing this. But today I just really wanted to focus on the software that you see right now on the screen. So now, because I'm done showing you my the other lower thirds and the other graphic, which is going to be the ending and beginning still image on the screen, we're now going to focus in on the downstream key. So if you go down from your upstream key and you scroll down under palettes, you get all the way down here to the downstream key. You can see it. I've set it to Hyperdeck fill, and below that to Hyperdeck key. And because my graphic has an alpha channel, then I would do pre-multiplied, which we're going to do here in just a minute. And I'm going to show you that graphic. So that's what you would set. So one of the other things to realize is that when I'm doing picture-in-picture, which right now I have the picture-in-picture up, that's using my upstream key. So the reason that it's on the upstream key and the motion graphics and other graphics that you would just want to be on the top of your screen, maybe up here, or maybe up, where is it, up here, and you just wanted that bug to be there, then you would want to use your downstream key. And I only have one upstream key and one downstream key, so I have to switch what I'm using it for. So if I wanted to show a still image on top of my screen, like a note, or like some people are showing the chat on their screen, and I haven't started doing that yet, then I would be using, I have to use either the upstream key or the downstream key, right, to be able to have anything on my screen. And today we're going to be using that downstream key for those graphics, and then my upstream key is my picture-in-picture. And so I can't drop my lower thirds on here right now, nor can I put the still image up without switching things up here in the studio and turning off the picture-in-picture, and then I can use those graphics. So let's switch now from picture-in-picture and what's on the screen, and I'll show you that we take this now that we have in my downstream key, I have Hyperdeck fill, Hyperdeck key. I'm going to click now on pre-multiplied. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn off my desktop because we're ready to do this. And just so you know, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to hit play right here on my media player. Now this is my Hyperdeck. So before I jump off here, let me just show you this. Down here in the little scrolly bar at the very bottom of the screen, so that's down here below me, you have the ability to go to this setting. So you have general, this is the frame rates and size of your stream. You have your audio settings, so you can choose how the different channel 1 and channel 2 comes in, as well as the mic inputs and all of the HDMIs. You can split those. You got your multi-view set up, so you can turn audio channels on and off, so you can see audio or not see audio, and I can see audio in my multi-view from my Hyperdeck because I play videos and I want to make sure that I have audio when I glance over at my my video playing on the Hyperdeck. There is no audio on this lower thirds, so I don't need audio for today's live stream. So then you go over, you got labels. So I've changed channel 3 and 4 to Hyperdeck fill, channel 3, and Hyperdeck key. So that's what I see when I do the drop-down menus. If you don't change them here, then you don't see that. So obviously, if you know channel 3 and channel 4 are your Hyperdeck, then you don't need to change them, but I would encourage you to change the names right here. Then you go over to Hyperdeck, and my Hyperdeck is checked. I only have one. I could have 4. And I only have one Hyperdeck. I have it assigned to input number 3 because you assign the main channel to channel 3. That is that one channel coming out of the Hyperdeck. And then you have to put in your local IP address. And once you have that right and you hit connect, it will go green. And I'm going to demo this here real quick. So if I was to change this back to 30, it's going to kill the Hyperdeck. It's looking for it now. If I push the menu button on my Hyperdeck and then I push the scroll arrow, it gives me my IP address. It's still 39, which I knew it. And I hit connect, and now it's ready to go. I do not want to have it auto roll because I have 3 different videos on my Hyperdeck disc. And if I put on auto roll, as soon as it's done playing the first clip, it'll automatically roll to the next clip. And that's great if you have an intro and just an outro and you want it to automatically switch over to your outro. So when you get ready to roll out, all you have to do is hit the back arrow and play. Then that's great. But when you're doing a lower third motion graphic and you want it to just loop, then it'll override the loop function in the media player. So we want to turn that off. So that is off. The frame delay is designed to give you a pause before it starts to play. So let's say you're doing automatically switching and you have auto roll on. Soon as I switch to my Hyperdeck, that video rolls. And so if you wanted to have a 1 second delay because of the dissolve that you have, right? If you're doing like a 1 second dissolve, then you may want to have a 1 or 2 frame delay so that dissolve can finish before that video starts playing. But I just normally leave it to 0 frames and let it roll. And so now that that's all set up again, I have to hit save because I changed it. And so now I'm ready to roll. So we're going to now get ready to play this lower third graphic. So here we go. So what's the first thing I need to do? I have my desktop all set up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch back to camera 2, or actually camera 3. Turn picture in picture off. And so here I am at this camera. And so now I'm going to switch my HDMI switcher. Remember, I have my desktop and my alpha channel 3 coming into a 2-to-1 switcher. And I shared that in my last video. So watch that. So I'm going to switch that. I'm going to go out of program view to multi-view so I can see that everything's ready. And I can now see that my lower third motion graphic is just still. So I might as well show that to you. So let's just put that on air. And there it is. It is not motion. It's not moving. That graphic is just sitting there because I haven't hit play yet in my media player in my control software. I can reach over right now and hit play on the Hyperdeck if I want to, but I want to double check my settings. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit play and loop. And so now that graphic is going to start playing in the live broadcast. As soon as I hit play and get out of my menu. And so it is playing in the live broadcast. So there you have a lower third motion graphic that's going to play for the rest of my stream as long as I don't shut it off. And I'm using my downstream key. So again, your ATEM Mini, your ATEM Mini Pro, your ATEM Mini ISO, your ATEM Mini Extreme, your ATEM Mini Extreme ISO, all can use the Hyperdeck. In fact, all of the controllers, the broadcast controllers by Blackmagic Design are intended for playing videos and adding these motion graphics from the Hyperdeck. And many studios have a rack of these. They'll have 4 or 5 of them. You can see that you could queue up the main one for an intro. You could have number 2 be your outro. Number 3 could be a deck that's recording your program. Number 4 literally could be a whole nother graphic that you want to have fly in. And so you would just simply switch between with macros from Hyperdeck 1, play clip, Hyperdeck 2, and macros are a whole nother level. I'm not trying to complicate this training list or training series right now with macros because I think it's enough to absorb things like the upstream and downstream key. Now, if you go back and look at the software, so we are going to stop the graphic and just stop it, and it's just going to stop making motion. It's still on the screen because I have my my downstream key on. You can also, just so you know, the upstream key always changes with your transitions. So if you had a lower thirds in your upstream key, then you can dissolve to it or you can put it on the air, but it's designed to move with your transitions, where the downstream key is designed to be able to just sit on top of everything, which is really important, and it has less features. The other thing that you can do, which is where I'm leading you right now, that is to turn on the tie switch, and I'm going to show you that right now. So we're going to switch back over to my desktop in channel 3. Switch back over to channel 3. I'm going to turn on the picture-in-picture. And there I am again. And so right over here, you see that I pushed play and I pushed this loop. And that's what played my graphic. And you can see that that is on because it's using that channel 3. And I have channel 3 now dedicated to my desktop. So I can just leave it set like this because I stole that input to be able to show you my desktop. So now what you're going to do is you're going to switch over here to palettes, right? And you're going to see you have all of these options. You have your downstream key. You have the ability to mask it. You have the ability to turn pre-multiplied on and off. And my lower thirds graphic is a pre-multiplied graphic that I exported from Photoshop. So that's why I had that on. The still image doesn't really matter because it's not messing with the background. It covers the whole screen. So a still image really doesn't matter if it's on or off. But any kind of PNG file does matter. And that's for another video. We'll talk about how to adjust that. So you have the ability to do all that. So on your upstream key, you have Luma, you have Chroma, you have patterning, you have DEVE, and I'm using my picture-in-picture right now, so it automatically switches over to this screen. If I was to switch over to Luma, you can see that it just did some crazy things here, right? It's taken over the whole screen because it's set up right now in my picture-in-picture. And so if I turn that picture-in-picture off, then those settings change back to the defaults. But because I just switched folders, it messes things up. So you really want to turn your picture-in-picture on and off when you're using it. So you have Luma, Chroma, Pattern, and the DVE, and then you have the ability to size it. I can make my picture bigger or smaller right here. I can change the border, which I've done right here. I've changed it to yellow. The default was black, and so I've made it yellow. My business colors are black and yellow, so I decided today to switch it up and change the border. I thickened it up. I did all of that right here. Again, and that lays over top of that picture-in-picture, which is really cool. And then you have some other great features. I can add a shadow if I wanted to my picture. So if you look at my picture-in-picture now, there is a shadow around it. I can change the sizes of that. I can raise and lower the size of my picture-in-picture right now live, and I can move it around. And with macros, you can resize things. If I was to go into my ATEM Mini right now and change the locations of my picture-in-picture on the front of the ATEM Mini or the Pro or the ISO, then it's automatically going to take that back to the default. So that's where I think the extreme macros and the extreme ISO macros, or the programmable keys on the front, are going to be really important, because sometimes just with picture-in-picture, you want to just change the location and not use the super source, which we don't have on any of the ATEM Minis that we have now, but SuperSource will be available on the ATEM Mini Pro and ISO Extremes, or the Extreme and ISO, and I think that's going to be great. But for those of us that are just trying to use their picture-in-picture and move it around the screen, you're going to have to use a Stream Deck with a companion app, and you're going to have to program those buttons so that when you do, and lots of people are doing this, you're going to immediately switch to a same size in another quadrant on your computer. So again, that's right here. You can change the mask. You can change the shadow. You can change the color. You can do all of these transitions and fly-in graphics, and all of that's available on the Upstream Key. But if you go down here to the downstream key, you can see there are no folders. You have the ability to key it, fade it to black, and you have the ability to pre-multiply it, and you have the ability to mask it, and you can change the inputs to that downstream key. So I have it set to my Hyperdeck, but you can use that downstream key from your media pool. So you could use it to put a graphic that stays up for your whole show, or you can use it to bring in the input channel 3 and 4 from your Hyperdeck. So again, that's all right here, and that's what you can see because I have a 2 input, 1 output switch on my channel 3, so I can pop in my desktop anytime I want to in a live stream, and I can simply make it go away. Now I'm going to do it in the live show, and so you see it flash. It takes a couple seconds, and now you just see my picture-in-picture and that lower third graphic, and I can hit play on that lower third graphic, but I'll do it from my media pool, make sure it's looped, and that lower third graphic now starts to play. And obviously this is not a very good picture for a live stream, but imagine right now, if I wanted to, I can turn my picture-in-picture off, and I could put or leave it on, and I could use my Upstream Key if I wanted to fill the whole right-hand screen with something else. And that's what's really cool about the Upstream Key. I can turn my camera back on, turn this off, and my camera back on, and then just have my lower thirds playing for this broadcast. So guys, man, I really hope that this is helping. Hey, Ivan, it's great to have you from Chicago. That's great. Hey, Freddie, where are you from? Would you put that in the notes? Thank you guys for tuning in. So let me give you just kind of a gist of where we're going. I want to continue to dig into the Hyperdeck. I want to continue to talk about the ATEM Mini, and I really believe the ATEM Mini and the Pro and the ISO can do a lot of the same things that we're talking about. It's just the real difference about the ATEM Mini over the Pro and the ISO is it doesn't encode inside of it. It also doesn't have the ability to do multi-view, and you can't record to an SD card, but you can come out of the SD into your computer and obviously use it with any software, with OBS. And then obviously OBS has all kinds of things that you can do with it as well. But if you're trying to learn how to be able to use the control software, the Hyperdeck and the ATEM Mini and do everything with that, then it's kind of good to focus in and use it that way. But for those of you that have an ATEM Mini, you can still get a Hyperdeck. You can still do these graphics like I'm doing right now, and you can have that graphic just flying away. If you have a globe in your graphic or you just have other graphics, it doesn't just have to be on the lower thirds. I could literally have a graphic over me right now with motion in it. So I could have a top corner graphic with my logo in it. I can have the whole side of this as a graphic, and I could just locate myself over and have a graphic completely on this side. If I wanted to, using my downstream key, I could design that and make it move and make motion. Here's the other thing that's really cool. I could take this whole side of the frame and I could actually cut it all off in a graphic, do my whole podcast right from here, and I could have my Hyperdeck playing up on top as well. Again, I'd use my Upstream Key on top of a background, and I would fill this whole side of the frame, and maybe we'll demo that here on another video. So again, if you have any questions, now's when I love to answer those. I appreciate you guys being on here live. I think I've covered how to take After Effects logo that you've designed or lower thirds or a graphic. Again, you got to go in there and design it, or another software that has the ability to do alpha channels. And there's lots of softwares that can do that. And most people, I think, dive into programs like After Effects and they use it to make their graphics. You export it as a alpha channeled video format and using QuickTime for your Hyperdeck, and then making sure that all of those files that go on your disk in your Hyperdeck are all, if you could have a video on here, you could have a motion graphic, you could have 3 or 4, whatever the card would hold, as long as they're all rendered to the same format, same frame rate, then you can switch So the only advantage of having multiple hyperdecks is that you don't have to queue up another video by touching the hyperdeck or going into software. You could have a macro that just automatically switches to another hyperdeck, but you can probably, and I haven't, don't quote me, but you can probably program macros to switch files in here, because you can click on it in the media pool. Then you should be able to create a macro that would change from your intro video to your outro video, switch inputs from your picture and roll. And at one of these points, we'll start playing with macros. But I like to do everything manually because that's how a lot of people are at. That's the level they're at. So let's look here. Can this be done with transparency so it's not a frame square? Yeah, so Ivan, you can basically design in whatever software you're using to design, right, that motion graphic with transparency, but you're going to use the hyperdeck, as I said in the beginning of the video, out of both channels out. So the hyperdeck is unique. I should have had a graphic ready here to go on the screen. I could do it live, but you'd have to watch me work, and I don't want to do that. So on the back of the hyperdeck, and you can find, if you just type in Blackmagic Design, one word, hyperdeck, photos, PNGs if you want to, or regular JPEGs, a bunch of pictures will come up in your browser. And if you look at the hyperdeck on the back, you're going to see that it has a power input. It has a Ethernet port. It has a HDMI out, which lets you watch anything that you play in the hyperdeck. It doesn't have, it's just a combined, it's just like an HDMI coming out of another player, right? Then you have SDI inputs on the top, and one of them is your main SDI input. The other one is your alpha channel input. And when you have those plugged into the back of your HDMI channel 3 and 4, or 1 and 2 of your ATEM Mini, whatever mixer you have from Blackmagic Design or someone else, right? You could go into 2 channels in a YOLO box. And as long as it has, and I don't know the YOLO box, as long as it has ability to be able to use those through the key. And again, I'm not a YOLO box guy, but most switchers have the ability to take those inputs, and one would be an alpha channel, one would be a main channel. And what that alpha channel does, and I'm just saying, I can show you here on the screen. Let me switch to channel 4. What happened here? Channel 4. Did I just not hit it? Let's get out of here real quick let's go to channel 1. There we go. Sorry, it's darker over here. I apologize. Wasn't planning on using that. And let me see if I can get channel 4 up here. Yeah, it's just right now playing both channels because this graphic is playing in the background. I think if I turn it off right now and steal channel 3, and then let's go to background white. See that little gray area there? That's the alpha channel. And in reality, it's white, and that blacks out the background. So that was really representation of channel 4. When channel 3 is gone, and I just stole it to be able to show you just channel 4, that's what it looks like. And I'm not really set up to show you channel 3 and 4 in this stream, but the alpha channel literally creates a white background around behind everything, and it fades in and fades out as that graphic goes opaque or transparent. And so what that does is help you get really good, crisp edges. And so my graphics back up here. So I know that's a little confusing because I'm not set up to be able to display that, but I hope that answers your question, Ivan. You can put those graphics anywhere on the screen using your downstream key. And the only reason you're using your downstream key is so that you can make that, that graphic on top of the other layers. And so your whole show, as long as you dedicate two channels in your ATEM Mini for the whole show and you have that graphic playing in loop mode, it can be anywhere on the screen. So I hope that answers your question. So can this be done with transparency so it's not a frame square? So yeah, it can. So I just made a graphic that's square for my logo. But I think, let's see here. Let's stop this graphic. Let's switch to another graphic on this card. So you can see these logos are flying around the screen from another live I did. I designed this logo to show moving graphics. And so that's an example I could have made there in motion. So again, they have an alpha channel. So that alpha channel is making them a little bit more opaque and the ability to be transparent. But you do sometimes want to kind of dial that graphic in because you do have adjustments in the software to decide what kind of edges that you really want. And so if I was to go into my palettes down to my downstream key and turn off pre-multiplied, then I can literally change that graphic on the screen. Then when I hit play again, it really actually changes it. And this is not the graphic to demo that, but it really will change that graphic. Go back into my media pool, hit play, hit play and hit loop. And then that graphic is going to continue to play in the lower third. So again, if you have any questions, please leave them here. Any of my videos, I've been trying to answer all of the comments, all of the questions. I have the luxury right now to do hours upon hours of research. In my situation, I'm actually helping other people install live streaming equipment. And so I have to dive in deep. I actually did some training on the YOLO box and decided for one of my clients that the ATEM Mini Extreme is going to be the best solution for them because of what they're trying to do, send multiple signals to multiple monitors, and that's all built into the ATEM Mini Extreme and the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO. And I'm getting the ISO as I announced, the ATEM Extreme ISO, because some of the training videos I'm going to be doing, I want to be able to record all the different inputs. I want to have that footage available to me. And I also want to be able to do a clean output as well of the whole entire broadcast. And so that's going to be part of the reason why I'm getting that. But I'm still going to be hammering away for those of you that have an ATEM Mini, the Pro, and the ISO, because I believe there's lots of things that you can do to do some amazing shows. I do suggest and do recommend the ATEM Mini. And if you haven't bought one yet, at least get a Pro or an ISO because it has that ability to record. It also has the ability, like right now, I am streaming directly from my ATEM Mini Pro. So it's doing all the encoding, H.264 out to YouTube, and also streaming the audio through the internet. And my laptop right now is only doing the things that I was doing on my laptop, which is great. I'm actually... I'll show you. I'm watching the chat on my iPad, just tilted up like this. And that's my chat screen because I can put it right below my monitor. I do not use a teleprompter, though I am going towards that. So if you see me looking up, I'm looking at a confidence monitor just above my Canon 5D Mark IV. This is a Canon 5D Mark IV. And then if I switch to this camera, you can see my lower thirds is still going. And this one is a little bit darker because I had it set that way for something else I was doing. So we'll pop this up to 100% and we'll turn down my lights. And I'm using the Stream Deck and the Elgato key light and the Elgato, I have one right here as my key light this way. And then that's my my hair light and my fill light. And that's, when I switch cameras, I use that one as my key and this one becomes my hair light. And I have them kind of set off my desk because then I can cheat a little bit and fill a little bit of the other side of my face and have some silhouette right here. And so if I crank up this backlight, you can see it really can get bright and really silhouette me. And I can also bring my front light down and lower that to give myself even more of a silhouette. And I'm on auto ISO, so you can see it switching. I had this angle right here so I could turn this off. And before we leave today, I wanted to show you that I am using the this laptop, which is the Asus ZenBook Pro Duo. I've had it now for a little over a year and a half. I got it when I left my content position with a large company in the Northwest and decided to freelance and take that knowledge and grow even further with video production and content and all of that. And so it has a lower screen, which I think is great. I can turn that on right now. And this lower screen will come up in just a minute. And I can actually drop videos down here, put YouTube down here when I'm doing research. So I can edit up here if I'm away from home, and I can actually watch videos and do research right here. So I absolutely love the ability to turn that lower monitor on and off. The only thing I don't like about it is it doesn't have, it doesn't tilt. And the new version, if you buy the new version, make sure that you get the one that tilts because they now have it so it tilts up and you get a little better view of that lower screen. So again, let's turn that lower thirds back on and switch back over to our other camera with the better light. And we'll adjust this here just a little bit. There you go. So again, thank you so much for joining me. I know we could continue talking and continue this stream, but I want to let you guys go. I promise you within the next 6 to 10 days, I will be live again. As I do my research and as I discover new things, it's great learning for me to share it right away. So a lot of the things I'm showing you, I'm discovering with my Hyperdeck as I go, and it's a great tool. So again, once I get my ATEM Mini Extreme ISO, I will do an unboxing and I'll talk about some of the differences between it and the Pro, but I'm really gonna focus in continually on the ATEM Mini, the ATEM Mini Pro and the ISO, because I believe hundreds of thousands of people have those and they're still learning how to use those. So, okay, one last check on questions. Okay, so you saw my arm behind the graphic. Way cool. So, and you have settings, Ivan, to adjust transparency. So even if you had a graphic that was solid, you can actually adjust in the control software the transparency. So you can adjust the background behind it, and you can adjust the graphic in front of it with the downstream key, which is really cool. So you can fine tune your graphic. So like if you don't like that white border around my graphic, it's just too much, I can actually adjust that in the downstream key settings to make that look more of a solid burgundy frame rather than that white background. So just remember, when you adjust the outside white background, you're also adjusting the white, the brightness of the whole graphic. So keep that in mind. So that's it. I'm talked out. I actually brought my drink. They say a half hour of speaking, you go through like a quart of water. It takes that much liquid. So there's a stat for you. So I am quite parched, but thank you so much for tuning into my channel. I hope you subscribed. I hope you'll share this with other people. And if you have any questions, I'm here. I'm really doing a lot of free mentoring right here on YouTube. So feel free to ask me questions. I will do my absolute best to answer those questions to the best of my ability right here on YouTube. And if you need any one-on-one consulting with something that you're doing, please let me know. And you can actually reach out to me through my channel, as well as my business website, which is Life's with the S, Journey Productions.com. So you can check out my website. I link up all of these videos there on the homepage so people can just scroll through and look at the videos. And I have other videos that I've done. I came from a content position prior to this last year and a few months, and we did lots of videos. They weren't to the quality that I wish I could make them, but our philosophy at that company was more is better than best. That's not how I fly. I will spend tons of time with anything that I do now in video production, depending on what the budget is. And but I try to keep the quality as high as I possibly can. So a lot of those videos were done with my phone. If you want to see videos like that, some of them were done on my Canon 5D Mark IV, which was my travel camera that I owned on my own. And I also have some videos on there that were shot again with my iPhone and a Rode Lav microphone that plugs right into adapter in my phone. So thank you so much for tuning in to today's live. We'll start the music rolling, and we will see you guys very soon in the next video. Catch you guys next time, man. Be safe.